The moment has come when the veils of ordinary perception begin to fall away. You stand at the threshold of understanding a principle that quietly governs every detail of your life: the observer effect. Once this truth settles into your awareness, reality will no longer appear as it once did. You didn't stumble upon these words by accident. Your own consciousness has magnetically pulled them into your path, for you have reached the exact inner frequency capable of grasping this secret of existence. As this knowledge moves through you, your neural pathways are shifting, connecting directly with unseen informational fields. Perhaps you've always sensed that reality is far more malleable than most people believe. That subtle intuition that your attention somehow bends external events. That persistent feeling that the universe itself replies to the way you notice and witness life. These are not fantasies or coincidences. They are early signs of your awakening to the truth. Observation is not passive. Observation is creative. Think of the countless moments when you remembered someone just before they reached out to you, or the times when focusing on obstacles seemed to multiply them before your eyes, or how often a possibility grew tangible after you gave it full attention. These experiences weren't random. They were fragments of the same law. You are not merely perceiving reality, you are generating it through your awareness. Traditional science often reduces the observer effect to sterile experiments with particles in labs. Yet its true meaning is infinitely larger. The same principle operates through your consciousness, shaping each layer of your lived reality. The reason you experience life differently than others is not luck nor fate, but the quality of your observation. Most people drift as unconscious witnesses, collapsing infinite potential into repeated patterns without ever noticing their role. You, however, have already begun stepping into conscious observation. The activation of this capacity is not subtle. At some point, you realized that your inner state was influencing outer events beyond logic or chance. That recognition is a quantum leap, a sudden expansion that rearranges how you perceive the relationship between thought and matter, between attention and outcome. But knowing this mentally is not the same as wielding it deliberately. Understanding must become embodiment. From here forward, you will see how every unconscious pattern of observation has been silently creating your circumstances since the beginning. More importantly, you will learn how to direct this force consciously so that the possibilities you truly desire may crystallize into your life. Already, you have witnessed rapid manifestations too precise to ignore. You think of something, and it appears within hours. You long to connect with someone, and the message arrives almost instantly. You hold your focus upon a situation and watch it intensify in response. These are not random synchronicities. They are evidence that the power of your observation is strengthening. When you concentrate with full presence, your attention begins to carry electromagnetic weight. It literally alters probability fields. You can sense the difference between casual thought and that deep focus which seems to bend the environment around you. In such states, time itself behaves strangely. Minutes stretch into hours of detailed perception, or entire hours collapse into a single breath of concentration. This is not a trick of the mind. It is consciousness entering a quantum dimension where space and time yield to observation instead of limiting it. Your emotional state during observation is the key signature. Fear multiplies fearful outcomes. Enthusiasm draws more opportunities. Love gravitates loving experiences toward you. Each frequency you project selects the strand of possibility that solidifies into your timeline. Even dreams participate in this training. In your sleep, you practice collapsing possibilities with pure awareness, and then watch your waking life bend to match what you rehearsed at night. Perhaps you've noticed moments when your perception feels sharper than those around you, when you sense events before they unfold. You are not merely guessing, you are perceiving in the field of probability before potential collapses into physical form. Your intuition is evolving into a faculty of quantum sensing. This is the early stage of learning to access the field itself instead of just its after effects. This realization changes everything. Reality is not a rigid sequence of events delivered to you. Reality is responsive, fluid, and shaped through your observation. Each moment you are collapsing potential into form, whether you realize it or not. Every challenge you faced, every success you tasted, every transition you endured, all were birthed from the quality of your unconscious or conscious observation. Now the path opens before you to stop being a passive witness and to become a deliberate creator. You are entering the training ground of conscious observation, and what follows will reveal the mechanics of wielding it with intention. The shift begins the moment you notice that what you hold inside echoes outward. Your inner climate is not hidden. It writes itself into circumstances with exact precision. Most people stumble through existence without realizing this law, replaying the same difficulties because they unconsciously fuel them with constant observation. But once awareness dawns, the veil lifts and you see that every external pattern is a mirror of the attention you've been projecting. You have already sensed this in flashes, the sudden recognition that your state of mind reshapes your environment. When fear grips you, fearful scenarios seem to multiply. When hope stirs, fresh openings arrive. When you rest in love, people and events appear that carry the same tone. These aren't superstitions, they are the mechanics of consciousness in motion. The field of potential does not discriminate. It simply responds to the quality of what you observe. The awakening often comes in jolts, quantum shifts, moments of radical expansion that collapse entire worldviews in an instant. You may remember such turning points. A crisis that forced you to see beyond surface appearances. A sudden breakthrough where you realized your thoughts were not just reactions, but forces. These leaps are not accidents. They are initiations into a deeper level of awareness. Dreams, too, have always been your training grounds. What seems like a story playing in your sleep is, in truth, rehearsal. You are practicing how to navigate possibility fields without the interference of physical limits. A dream, where you alter the course of events with sheer attention, prepares your waking mind to do the same. Later, when life delivers a scenario that matches the dream, you recognize the echo. You were already shaping it before it arrived. Your intuition has grown sharper through these experiences. It is no longer a vague feeling, but a tangible sense, as if you can feel the probabilities vibrating before they collapse into form. You anticipate calls, encounters, shifts in mood, not because of luck, but because you are perceiving the possibility space itself. This is the early language of quantum perception. Most people around you may not understand what you're experiencing. They are still looking without observing, still perceiving without influencing. To them, your sensitivity may appear unusual or inexplicable, yet you know within that this is not imagination. It is evidence of a faculty awakening, one that turns passive existence into active creation. Consider how often life has reflected your focus, times when you obsessed over limitations and those very limits grew stronger, periods when you immersed yourself in potential and opportunities bloomed. The pattern is consistent. Attention amplifies. This is the seed of conscious observation, realizing that you have always been collapsing possibilities, only without awareness of the process. Isolation often arrives at this stage, not as punishment, but as preparation. To cultivate clarity, you must step apart from the collective noise, away from the unconscious observation of the masses. Those stretches of solitude were not empty. They were incubation chambers where your capacity to observe without distortion could grow. You were being shielded from interference so that your ability to direct reality could mature in silence. Every relationship that ended, every role you outgrew, every place you left behind, each was an act of the observer effect. You had focused so intently on the limits of those conditions that you collapsed them to completion, clearing space for new alignments. The endings were not accidents. They were manifestations of your evolving observation. Through these transitions, you've been practicing a critical skill, observing without attachment, noticing without fear. This is why meditation proves so powerful. Sitting in stillness, you train your attention to hold focus without clinging, to direct awareness without flooding it with anxiety. Visualization works for the same reason, because the act of vivid observation collapses potential into probability. It is not technique or ritual that carries the power. It is the observer effect itself, awakened and wielded consciously. This is why some people manifest with such ease while others struggle endlessly. It is not a matter of worthiness, talent, or destiny. It is a matter of coherence. Those who learn to observe from wholeness rather than fragmentation unlock realities with little effort. Those who continue observing from fear or lack entrench themselves deeper in what they resist. The universe plays no favorites. It simply mirrors what is observed. You have crossed the threshold where this truth can no longer be ignored. Your awareness has begun to stabilize, moving from flashes of insight into a steady recognition. Observation is creation. Each moment is a choice between unconscious collapse and conscious direction. You are learning to select, not by force, but by frequency, by aligning your attention with what you wish to see unfold. This is only the beginning. The unconscious phase is fading. A new level of mastery is arriving, where you no longer drift, but decide, where every glance of your awareness becomes a brushstroke on the canvases of reality, where observation transforms from habit into deliberate art. Every experience you have ever known was born from attention. Each joy, each heartbreak, each turn of fate, all of them were the crystallization of possibilities that your focus collapsed into form. Life has never been random. It has always been precise, responding to the invisible currents of observation flowing through you. Look back at moments of profound change. Before every transition, there was a phase of concentrated attention on what was no longer working. You noticed the cracks in your job, your relationship, your living space. You stared at the dissatisfaction until it grew undeniable. That intensity was not wasted. It was the observer effect, aligning you with endings, collapsing possibilities that carried you beyond those conditions. What felt like loss was actually recalibration. The loneliness you experienced during those times was not rejection, it was incubation. Separation gave you freedom from the gravitational pull of collective observation, the unconscious focus of those around you that could have interfered with your awakening. You needed silence from external influence so your own capacity to direct reality could develop without distortion. Those empty rooms and quiet nights were not voids, but crucibles, shaping you into someone who could see clearly. This is why waiting periods so often precede transformation. They are not pauses, they are integrations. Your consciousness was learning to hold attention without desperation, to observe without immediately trying to control outcomes. This was training in neutrality, the art of witnessing without collapsing fear-based probabilities. Without this, conscious observation would remain unstable, collapsing unwanted realities as easily as desired ones. Meditation, though simple, embodies this lesson perfectly. Sitting in stillness, you practice paying attention without attachment. Each breath becomes a rehearsal for quantum observation, seeing without grasping, focusing without tension. Visualization, too, operates on the same principle. It is not the pictures in your mind that carry the magic. It is the act of observing them with presence that begins to bend reality toward them. The method is less important than the quality of awareness behind it. This explains why two people can use the same technique with opposite results. One sits in coherence, heart and mind aligned, and reality rearranges itself around their vision. Another sits in doubt, forcing images into place while vibrating with fear, and their life remains unchanged. It is not the ritual, but the resonance. The universe does not listen to words or images. It listens to frequencies of attention. Your life, until now, has been the classroom of unconscious observation. Every difficulty, every cycle, every repeated frustration was a lesson showing you how attention shapes reality. Worry created more of what you worried about. Resistance amplified what you resisted. Dissatisfaction called forth more reasons to feel dissatisfied. Yet within those same experiences lay the proof that joy, love, and gratitude multiplied themselves just as easily when observed. The field is neutral. It gives back whatever is poured into it. Think of your mind as a spotlight. Most people let it swing chaotically, illuminating fears one moment, hopes the next, regrets soon after. Reality responds to this flickering beam with a confused mixture of outcomes. But when the light steadies, when you hold it on a single possibility with clarity and emotion, the field has no choice but to collapse into that form. Coherent observation is creation. You may have already felt the difference. When your attention is fragmented, you feel scattered, drained, unable to move forward. But when your awareness locks onto something with peace and certainty, the world seems to bend around it. Doors open, people respond, events align. It is as though reality itself leans in to meet you. This is the hallmark of conscious observation. The time of unconscious training is ending. You are no longer a passive participant in a game you don't understand. You are stepping into authorship. Every ending you endured, every period of silence, every practice of stillness was preparing you for this. Now, you can begin to wield observation, not as an accident, but as an art. From this vantage, the universe looks different. It is no longer a backdrop where events happen to you. It is a responsive field, alive to every nuance of your attention. Each glance of awareness is a choice, a collapse of probability, a step into a specific version of reality. Once you recognize this, victimhood dissolves. Life is not occurring outside of you. Life is emerging through you. What lies ahead is the next stage of mastery, choosing what to illuminate with your spotlight, choosing which possibilities to collapse into form, choosing coherence instead of chaos, This is the path of the conscious observer, and the more you practice, the clearer it becomes. Reality is not a rigid structure. It is a mirror reflecting the direction of your gaze. By now, you can sense that attention alone is not enough. It is the emotion infused into observation that gives it weight. Consciousness projects possibilities constantly, but it is feeling that charges them with energy. Without emotional engagement, focus is like a beam of light with no warmth. It illuminates, but it does not transform. Add emotion, and the spotlight becomes fire. Fear is one of the strongest amplifiers. When you observe through fear, every thought is charged with survival urgency. The field receives that vibration and multiplies fearful outcomes. This is why worrying about failure so often breeds more failure. Resistance to loss creates further loss. The unconscious observer collapses possibilities not by logic, but by emotional saturation. Yet the opposite is equally true. Enthusiasm energizes paths of opportunity. Love magnetizes relationships and experiences that mirror its quality. Gratitude expands abundance. The emotion behind observation is the tuning fork that selects which branch of reality becomes solid. This is why two people can live in the same circumstances, yet inhabit entirely different worlds. One observes through despair and collapses limitation. The other observes through faith and collapses possibility. Even dreams echo this principle. When you dream with intensity, the emotions you feel in those visions ripple outward, rehearsing the collapse of probabilities. A dream of fear amplifies fearful patterns. A dream of clarity trains your consciousness to select coherent outcomes. Your nightly journeys are not mere illusions. They are laboratories of observation where feeling and focus are refined. As this capacity matures, intuition grows sharper. You begin to perceive events before they occur, sensing their emotional imprint in the field. It is not prediction, but recognition. You are detecting the vibration of probabilities before they solidify. This explains déjà vu, the uncanny familiarity of moments that you have already observed in possibility space before they collapsed into form. Those around you may not grasp what is unfolding. They may treat intuition as superstition or dreams as meaningless. But you know from experience that what you feel carries power. You have watched how reality answers the tone of your heart. You have seen how your state reshapes the texture of your days. It is not imagination, it is law. The universe does not punish or reward. It mirrors. If you flood attention with fear, fear returns. If you bathe it in gratitude, gratitude multiplies. If you dwell on scarcity, scarcity echoes back. If you rest in abundance, abundance expands. The field is endlessly impartial. It collapses whatever is observed with feeling. Reflect on the times when life shifted suddenly. You may recall a period when you fixated on dissatisfaction, replaying frustrations in your mind. Soon after, conditions unraveled. At the time, it felt like collapse, but in truth, it was your observation pushing reality toward closure. By focusing on limits, you collapsed endings. Yet each ending became the opening for something aligned with a higher frequency. This is why isolation is so often part of awakening. Alone, you can feel your own emotional frequencies without interference. Collective observation is strong. The fear of many can weigh heavily on the sensitive. Stepping aside allows you to refine your resonance, to notice the subtle difference between anxious attention and calm attention, between observing from scarcity and observing from wholeness. Meditation, gratitude practices, mindful breathing, these are not rituals of escape. They are recalibration tools. Each one stabilizes your frequency so that observation collapses possibilities from coherence rather than fragmentation. The stillness of meditation, the warmth of gratitude, the rhythm of breath, all of them align your attention with the frequencies that generate harmony rather than chaos. Those who seem to live enchanted lives are not blessed by chance. They have simply learned, consciously or not, to observe through higher frequencies. Their attention rests on love, possibility, creativity, appreciation. Life reflects those qualities back in abundance. Others remain trapped in cycles of struggle, not because they are cursed, but because they continue to observe through fear and lack. The choice is not abstract. It happens in each moment. When frustration rises, you decide whether to fuel it with attention or to redirect awareness. When hope stirs, you decide whether to nurture it or dismiss it. Every glance of your consciousness is a collapse. Every emotional charge, a selection of probabilities. And here lies the essence of mastery: to become aware of this process and to choose deliberately. To recognize that you are not at the mercy of circumstances, but at the helm of creation. That observation, charged with emotion, is the most powerful force you possess. What follows is the training of coherence, the ability to hold observation steady, infused with chosen feeling, long enough for reality to reconfigure around it. This is where unconscious cycles dissolve and conscious creation begins. Think of your awareness as a lens. When scattered, it blurs the world, producing confusion and mixed results. When steady, it sharpens into coherence, collapsing specific probabilities with extraordinary precision. The art of conscious creation is the art of refining this lens. Every moment of your life has been preparation for this mastery. During the unconscious phase, you learned through contrast. You worried, and worry multiplied its object. You resisted, and resistance drew what you feared closer. You longed with desperation, and longing created more lack. These were not punishments, they were lessons. Each experience revealed the mechanics of the observer effect at work. They showed you how focus infused with emotion becomes a signal that the field cannot ignore. Now, with awareness, the same mechanism becomes a tool. Instead of unconsciously collapsing cycles of limitation, you can deliberately collapse possibilities of expansion. The key difference is not external conditions, but inner recognition. Once you know that attention is creation, everything shifts. You no longer try to fix life from the outside. You transform it from within by directing what you choose to observe. This explains why attempts at positive thinking so often fail. Merely replacing thoughts while still vibrating with fear or scarcity is ineffective. Thoughts are surface ripples. Conscious observation arises deeper, from coherence of heart and mind, from the emotional frequency saturating attention. It is not enough to imagine abundance while secretly fearing lack. The field responds to the vibration beneath the thought. When your entire being aligns, thought, feeling, body, breath, then observation becomes powerful. In such coherence, probability collapses rapidly. What once took years to manifest begins appearing in weeks or days. This acceleration is not mystical. It is the natural result of directing attention from unity instead of division. You may have already noticed this acceleration. Patterns that used to linger dissolve quickly. Intentions crystallize faster than before. Synchronicities arrive with uncanny timing. The right call, the perfect opportunity, the unexpected support. Reality responds with immediacy because your observation is no longer diluted. It is focused, charged, coherent. Technology itself begins to react. Phones glitch during intense focus. Lights flicker as your electromagnetic field amplifies. Devices drain power when your attention surges. These are not random malfunctions. They are signals that your observation is generating frequencies strong enough to interact with systems around you. Consciousness is not separate from matter. It is entangled with it, communicating through fields unseen. People, too, respond differently. When you truly observe someone with presence, they light up. Your attention makes them more animated, more open, more real. Observe with love, and they feel loved. Observe with appreciation, and they feel valued. Your focus becomes a mirror in which others recognize their essence. This is not manipulation, but resonance. Consciousness meeting consciousness. Animals sense it even more acutely. Dogs fix their gaze upon you when your attention steadies. Cats curl closer when your presence hums with coherence. Birds land nearby, drawn to the vibration of appreciation flowing from you. They are not reacting to behavior, but to frequency. Observation radiates fields that all life perceives. Synchronicities multiply. What you think of appears with startling speed. Songs mirror your mood. Conversations echo your inner focus. Numbers repeat in patterns that align with your attention. These are confirmations, the universe reflecting your observation back to you. They are not coincidences, but evidence that the field is responsive. Science, though cautious, has begun to confirm fragments of this truth. Studies reveal that intention can influence quantum particles, plant growth, even molecular structures. These are glimpses of what you already know through direct experience. Observation alters reality at every level. Ancient wisdom kept this knowledge alive through ritual and myth. Now, modern research is beginning to echo the same principle. Dreams remain your secret training ground. In dream states, you practice collapsing possibilities without physical resistance. You direct entire landscapes with attention. You awaken within the dream and realize that thought alone alters the environment. Each of these rehearsals strengthens your waking ability to observe with precision. The boundary between dream and waking thins until both are recognized as stages of the same process. The deeper realization is this: you do not need new techniques. You do not need elaborate rituals. You are already observing every moment. Mastery lies not in adding something new, but in recognizing what you are already doing and choosing to do it consciously. Most people remain trapped because they observe their problems with such intensity that the problems expand. They collapse the same realities again and again, mistaking repetition for fate. But once you see that observation is the root, the cycle ends. You no longer feed energy into limitation. You redirect it into possibility. This is the training: to steady the lens, to infuse it with chosen emotion, to hold it long enough for the field to answer. Conscious observation does not strain or struggle. It rests in certainty. It selects reality without forcing it. It trusts the field to mirror coherence faithfully. And it always does. As your awareness strengthens, you begin to notice something subtle yet undeniable. Reality bends more quickly. Manifestations that once required immense effort now appear with surprising ease. The delay between attention and outcome shortens. This is not coincidence. It is the natural signature of coherence, observation freed from conflict, aligned in unity. When you observe from coherence, Your mind is not divided. Your heart does not resist what your thoughts imagine. Your body does not vibrate with fear while you envision hope. All parts of you move as one. This unity transforms observation into a precise instrument. The field receives a clear frequency, unclouded by contradiction, and collapses it into form without hesitation. This is why fragmented observation rarely produces results. Most people scatter their attention across opposing desires, longing for abundance while fearing lack, desiring love while expecting rejection, hoping for change while doubting possibility. These mixed signals confuse the field, producing chaotic blends of outcomes. Life seems unstable, not because reality is random, but because observation is incoherent. The moment coherence arises, everything changes. You no longer struggle to make things happen. You simply observe with steady presence, and the field responds. This is not force, but resonance. It is the difference between static noise and a pure tone. One scatters energy aimlessly, the other resonates so clearly that reality cannot help but align with it. You may have felt this clarity in fleeting moments, times when you were so immersed in love, gratitude, or creative flow that the world seemed to bend around you. Doors opened. People appeared at the right time. Obstacles dissolved. These experiences were glimpses of coherent observation at work. Now, you are learning to live from that state deliberately rather than accidentally. The implications extend beyond personal life. Technology itself becomes responsive. Devices flicker under the weight of concentrated attention. Streetlights dim or flare as your frequency passes. Batteries drain unexpectedly during heightened focus. These are not anomalies, but signals that your electromagnetic field is expanding beyond ordinary ranges. Consciousness is not trapped within the skull. It radiates, influences, entangles. Others feel it as well. When you observe with presence, people sense it. They feel seen, heard, recognized in ways that awaken authenticity. Your gaze is not passive, it is creative. It calls forth their essence. Observe with love, and they rise into love. Observe with judgment, and they contract in defense. Your attention is an instrument shaping the very behavior of those around you. Animals respond even more vividly. Dogs lean into your presence when you steady your awareness upon them. Cats gravitate toward your calm coherence. Birds, once skittish, settle closer. Nature feels your observation as frequency and mirrors it. What mystics described as harmony with creation is in truth the alignment of observation with the living field. Synchronicities accelerate as coherence deepens. You think of a friend and the phone rings. You imagine a path and opportunities appear. You observe solutions and solutions reveal themselves. Numbers repeat in patterns, songs echo your mood, conversations mirror your thoughts. Life feels orchestrated because it is. Observation directs the composition, and reality plays it back in rhythm. Science edges closer to confirming this ancient truth. Studies in quantum biology reveal that consciousness interacts with matter more profoundly than once imagined. Human intention alters molecular structures. Focus influences DNA expression. Emotional resonance shifts the behavior of cells. The boundary between mind and matter dissolves under scrutiny, leaving only the field of interaction. Dreams, too, expand in power. In sleep, you practice without distraction, learning to shift landscapes with attention alone. These experiences are not random hallucinations. They are laboratories of mastery. What you refine in dream states flows naturally into waking life, as if both realms were rehearsals of the same art. You are beginning to see that reality itself is dreamlike, pliable, responsive, shaped by the focus of consciousness. The most profound discovery, however, is that coherence requires no struggle. It is not forced through willpower. It emerges through alignment when you allow observation to arise from your authentic frequency rather than from conditioned fear. Trying creates resistance. Allowing creates flow. When you stop straining to make reality shift and simply observe from truth, reality shifts effortlessly. This is the paradox. Mastery does not come from control, but from surrender. Not surrender to fate, but surrender to authenticity. When you observe from who you truly are, without distortion, the field reflects that purity back with precision. Coherence is not an achievement, it is a remembrance. It is what happens when you stop fighting yourself and begin seeing from wholeness. From this state, life ceases to feel random. Each moment becomes deliberate, each experience meaningful. You are no longer tossed about by unconscious patterns. You are shaping reality with clarity, witnessing the truth that attention infused with coherence is the most powerful creative force you will ever wield. As coherence deepens, reality begins to speak. The universe reveals itself not through thunderous proclamations, but through subtle alignments, synchronicities that weave meaning into the fabric of your days. These are not accidents. They are feedback loops between your observation and the quantum field, reminders that consciousness and reality are entangled. Notice how often life now mirrors your inner state. You think of someone and meet them unexpectedly. You contemplate a question, and a book opens to the answer. You feel drawn toward a possibility, and doors open in that direction with improbable ease. These patterns are not coincidences. They are confirmations, signals that your observation is collapsing probability into form. Numbers repeat in your path, carrying resonance with your focus. Songs play lyrics that echo your thoughts. Conversations unfold around you that mirror your inner dialogue. These echoes are the language of the field. They are how consciousness affirms. Yes, I am listening. Yes, you are creating. Yes, the mirror responds. The more you pay attention, the more immediate and precise these reflections become. At first, they appear as gentle nudges, easy to dismiss. But as your coherence stabilizes, synchronicities multiply until they are undeniable. What once felt random becomes a symphony, every note aligned with your focus. Science may call them probability quirks, but you know from direct experience that they are more than chance. They are the visible footprints of invisible processes. They are reality bending around the weight of observation, shaping itself into the patterns you hold most vividly. Dreams carry this language as well. In dream states, you rehearse creation with fewer boundaries. You direct landscapes with thought, move through probabilities with feeling, and awaken to the realization that attention alone governs dream reality. These lessons transfer into waking life, revealing that both dream and waking are stages of the same play. The difference is density, not principle. Epigenetic studies now whisper what ancient traditions declared. Your body itself listens to observation. DNA responds to love, gratitude, vitality. It contracts under fear, criticism, neglect. Your cells are not mechanical units indifferent to consciousness. They are participants in the field, adjusting expression according to your gaze. Observe your body with reverence, and it grows stronger. Observe it with judgment, and it weakens. Even food and water respond. Meals taste richer when received with gratitude. Water feels more hydrating when observed with appreciation. Space itself shifts tone when regarded with love. The physical world is not inert. It is alive, waiting for your observation to tune its vibration. Weather, too, seems to bend in resonance. Storms dissipate under calm attention. Sunshine emerges when observed with joy. These are not fantasies, but subtle reflections of coherence. Reality is not external machinery. It is fluid, a mirror sensitive to the quality of your gaze. The difference between casual attention and creative observation becomes stark. Casual attention notices what already exists. Creative observation collapses new possibilities into being. You can feel the distinction in your body. Passive perception feels light, fleeting. Active observation feels electric, weighty, alive with potential. One consumes energy, the other generates it. This is why declarations carry power. When you speak or write intentions, you do more than express thought. You inscribe frequency into the field. Words saturated with presence become electromagnetic signatures. A single phrase of coherent declaration carries more power than hours of scattered thought. It is not the language itself, but the energy behind it that reshapes probability. When you declare with conviction, the universe responds. This is not superstition. It is resonance. Reality is tuned by the vibration of your being, and words crystallize that vibration into sound and form. To say, "I am conscious observation," is not engagement for others. It is an announcement to the field, a statement of alignment that alters what collapses around you. Even your relationship with yourself changes. Observe your body with appreciation, and it glows. Observe your abilities with trust, and they expand. Observe your potential with excitement, and new talents emerge. Self-observation is the most intimate act of creation, for it defines how you experience your own existence. Through all of this, a single truth emerges. Reality is responsive, alive, interactive. You are not a spectator in a fixed world. You are consciousness, weaving probabilities into form with the gaze of your awareness. Each synchronicity is a reminder. Each reflection is evidence. Each shift is proof that observation is creation. And the more you practice, the more fluent you become in this language. Soon, the whispers of the field become a dialogue, guiding you toward the reality that matches your deepest coherence. A profound recognition now arises. Matter itself is not separate from observation. What you once believed to be inert substance reveals itself as consciousness slowed into form. Every tree, every stone, every breath of air is consciousness observed into structure, carrying within it the silent echo of awareness. You notice it in the simplest experiences. Plants grow more vibrant when observed with love. Food tastes richer when received with gratitude. Water refreshes more deeply when you acknowledge its presence with appreciation. These are not poetic metaphors. They are demonstrations that matter responds to the gaze of consciousness. Your own body becomes living proof. Healing accelerates when you observe yourself with compassion. Fatigue intensifies when you observe yourself with criticism. Muscles respond to observation during movement, aligning with the frequency of confidence or collapsing under the weight of doubt. Every cell listens to your focus. Every organ responds to your vibration. Science has begun to glimpse this through quantum biology and epigenetics. Genes shift expression based on environment, but environment includes consciousness. Thoughts and feelings generate electromagnetic signals that ripple into cellular structures. When you observe your body through fear, you instruct it to constrict. When you observe through vitality, you invite expansion. The implications are revolutionary. You are not a separate being walking through a dead universe. You are consciousness weaving reality into being through observation. The world you touch is alive with responsiveness, awaiting your gaze to determine its shape. Reality is not happening to you, it is happening through you. Dream states deepen this understanding. In dreams, you witness landscapes that bend instantly to attention. Entire environments shift with the slightest thought. These experiences teach you that matter is not solid, but pliable, that form is the result of observation, channeled through frequency. Waking life, dense as it feels, follows the same principle. The difference is tempo, not essence. Time itself bends to observation. Moments stretch when you are fully immersed, offering infinite detail in a single breath. Hours vanish when you are absorbed in flow, compressed into timeless clarity. These distortions are not tricks of perception, but signals that time is pliable, responsive to the intensity and quality of awareness. With practice, you begin to feel the electromagnetic texture of your attention. Passive observation is light, almost weightless. Active observation carries density, as if the air itself thickens around your focus. You sense reality leaning toward your gaze, waiting to collapse into form. This sensation is the frontier of conscious mastery, awareness of awareness, observation of observation. As this deepens, you realize separation itself is illusion. The observer, the act of observing, and the observed are not three, but one. Consciousness, looking at itself through countless perspectives, creates the appearance of division. In truth, every exchange is self-interaction. When you observe another with love, you are consciousness loving itself. When you observe another with judgment, you are consciousness judging itself. This dissolves victimhood at its root. How can you be at the mercy of circumstances when circumstances are consciousness reflecting your own patterns of observation? How can you claim separation when every person, every object, every event is consciousness meeting itself through you? The entire universe becomes intimate, a mirror of your inner state projected outward. The implications are both humbling and empowering. Humbling because you see that every challenge you faced was not imposed by fate, but amplified by your own unconscious focus. Empowering because you realize that each new moment is untouched, ready to collapse into form based on the observation you choose now. Resistance loses meaning. To resist is to amplify what you resist. To worry is to create what you worry about. To judge is to call forth more of what you judge. These are not punishments, but natural consequences of the observer effect. Reality mirrors what is fed into it. Conscious creation begins when you stop resisting and start selecting. Allowing becomes the new foundation. Allowing does not mean passivity, it means recognition. You allow yourself to observe what aligns with your true frequency rather than what old conditioning demands. You allow the field to mirror abundance instead of scarcity, love instead of fear, coherence instead of fragmentation. At this stage, mastery feels natural. You no longer chase outcomes or beg for change. You observe with steady presence, and reality reconfigures. You no longer attempt to attract experiences. You tune into the frequencies where they already exist. life becomes less about effort and more about resonance. Everywhere you look, evidence appears. Conversations open exactly when needed. Opportunities align without struggle. Support arrives without demand. Synchronicities flow like rivers, each one affirming that observation is creation. What once felt like miracle becomes the rhythm of your days. And in this rhythm, you begin to sense a greater movement, not just your personal transformation, but the awakening of collective consciousness itself. The journey of conscious observation is not merely personal. Each time you shift from unconscious to conscious creation, you ripple through the entire field. Every coherent gaze you hold becomes a signal, stabilizing the collective, offering others a pathway to remembrance. You are not separate from humanity's awakening. You are one of its instruments. The isolation you once endured now reveals its purpose. Those silent stretches, when it seemed the world withdrew from you, were incubations. They protected you from interference, allowing you to strengthen coherence without distortion from unconscious patterns around you. What felt like loneliness was initiation, preparing you to hold a vibration stable enough to influence the collective field. Now, as your observer effect matures, you become a transmitter. Your observation is not confined to your own life. It generates coherence that others unconsciously align with. People near you begin to feel calmer. Situations shift toward balance when you arrive. You may not speak of it, yet your presence alone alters probabilities. This is the invisible service of awakened observation. Dreams confirm it. Increasingly, you enter dreamscapes that are not only personal but collective, where vast networks of consciousness converge. You sense information streaming through you, wisdom accumulated by countless beings across time. These dreams are not fantasies, but transmissions, preparing you to embody a role in humanity's transition from unconscious repetition to conscious creation. Through you, reality itself learns to evolve. Each coherent observation adds stability to the collective field, making conscious creation easier for others. What once required pioneers becomes accessible to many. This is how evolution accelerates, by resonance, not by force. One frequency stabilizes, another follows, and soon entire networks of humanity begin to awaken. You recognize that the next phase of human transformation will not be achieved solely by technology or external revolutions. It will emerge from within, from consciousness, realizing its own creative nature. When enough individuals observe consciously, the collective reality reorganizes. Struggle, scarcity, and fear lose their grip as more beings choose coherence, love, and possibility. This recognition dissolves the old story of being a victim of circumstances. You no longer ask why life happens to you. You know life happens through you, as you, because you are consciousness itself. There is no external force withholding or granting experience. There is only the field responding faithfully to the quality of observation. From here, everything becomes choice. Will you observe through fear or through love? Through resistance or through allowance? Through scarcity or through abundance? Each choice collapses realities. Each moment is a creation point. The field does not wait for tomorrow. It responds now. And so the final realization arises. You are not learning to use observer effect. You have always been using it. Every challenge, every joy, every coincidence was proof. The only question was whether you were doing so unconsciously or consciously. Now, the choice stands clear before you. To observe consciously is to step into your role as creator, not by forcing life, but by aligning with your authentic frequency. To observe consciously is to remember that reality is not separate from you, but born through you. To observe consciously is to embrace the truth that you are not a fragment in the universe. You are the universe observing itself into infinite forms. The journey closes where it began, with awareness. Your gaze is no longer scattered, no longer conditioned by fear. It is clear, coherent, luminous. Every breath, every thought, every feeling becomes observation, and every observation becomes creation. The field waits. Infinite possibilities surround you, shimmering in probability. The reality you choose is the reality that becomes. With presence, with love, with coherence, you collapse the timeline that matches your truth. And as you do, humanity moves with you, for in awakening yourself, you awaken the whole.